Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and grind. Not rise and shine, rise and grind. It's going to be a good one today. So, as you know, Liangelo Ball, which I expected, would not be wearing his trademark number, which is number 3. He'll be wearing number 34 for training camp. Let me repeat, this is for training camp. So, in the next 10 days of the training camp part of the season, Liangelo Ball has to make his way onto the Detroit Pistons roster. Is it going to be easy for him? No, it's not. But this is the opportunity that he wanted. And I'm sure he's going to embrace it. The Detroit Pistons, their roster is a lot deeper. Um, Not only did they acquire Killian Hayes, they got a lot of forwards. Um, they got Derrick Rose back, who provides leadership. And speaking of D Rose, I looked at his quotes today, and Derrick Rose says something so important. And this is what veteran leadership is, and this is how you stay in the NBA if you're a veteran. He said his job is to groom Killian Hayes for the future. I repeat that. Derrick Rose said that his job is to groom Killian Hayes for the future. This is what you want from your leaders. This is what you want in your players. No jealousy, no malice. Derrick Rose seems very content with his career in the NBA. He's not thinking about injuries. He's not thinking about legacy. Um, he knows that he was the youngest MVP in the NBA history, and that's something that no one can take from him. So I'm so excited to see how that turns out for the Detroit Pistons. Um, as for Liangelo Ball, I know some part of the fan base will be mad and say, why can't he have number 3? Well, it's easy. Number 3 is retired, as we all know. That was Ben Wallace's number. So Jello couldn't wear that number. And Jello couldn't wear number 15. I think somebody has that number as well. Jello's college number at UCLA. Um, it is what it is. It doesn't really matter right now. He's got to earn his spot in the NBA. And like I said, this is from the beginning. I was just happy for Liangelo Ball to get his foot in the door. I remember people saying that Liangelo Ball wouldn't even get a 10-day contract, that he wouldn't survive. So we'll see what happens. Um, do I think that Liangelo Ball will make the final roster? It's too early to tell. Now, I've been seeing little clips here and there how Liangelo has improved his game, but this is a different ball game. He hasn't played in 2 years. It's really tough to say right now. But for those who are in the comments, what do you think about Liangelo Ball rocking his new number? Are you fine with it, or you wish he would have 3? You know he can't have 3 because that was Ben Wallace's number. Is retired. Or are you just happy that Liangelo Ball got his foot in the door and you're not really worried about what jersey number he rocks with? I'm gonna be honest. I don't care what jersey Liangelo wears as long as he has a successful career in whatever it is. Let's say that Liangelo Ball tried really hard and played very solid in training camp, but they already had their guys and they gave him a G League spot. That's also a win. and he'll be able to play in the G League or be in a two-way contract. So there's options that can happen for Liangelo Ball. It's up to him if he wants to last or make the final roster of the NBA. Now, I get it. Some of you like, I thought he signed a 1-year contract. Technically, not really. It was a non-guaranteed contract, and it was a 10-day contract, like a non-guaranteed 10-day contract. So he has to perform in training camp. For the family's sake, I hope there's some way, somehow, Liangelo can get that final roster spot. For a basketball sense, since I'm a student of the game, I'm a basketball purist. I'm one of those people. If Liangelo doesn't make the final roster and makes it to the G League team, I'll say that's a win. But since we have Shines and others who have no basketball common sense and use emotion instead of logic, they're going to be like, oh, he didn't last in the NBA, and flip-flop. But these are the same buffoons who would tell you Jello wouldn't even step foot in the NBA. He wouldn't step foot in a training camp. And look at him now. He's in the training camp. So this is what they do. They go back and forth, creating their own narratives. And they want to have something to stick to hate on the Ball family. That's what they're doing. And for those in the chat, make sure you hit the like button. I'll be here for a couple of minutes, maybe longer if there's more people in the chat to have a solid discussion. But yeah, let me digress. Liangelo, it has to be go time. He has been hated on too long, and he's got to rise above the hate some way. You can only take so much hate. You can only take so much negativity. Now, I want to call myself the common sense version of the Ball family, a fandom. I use a common sense approach for all Ball brothers. You realize I've never said that LaMelo would average 20 plus points his first year. I never said that. I've said 15 and 8, 15 and 7 his first year. I'm sticking to it. Now, would it surprise me if LaMelo scores 20 points per game and 10 assists with a high usage rate? No. Anything can happen with LaMelo this season. So I want to keep it balanced when I talk about the Ball brothers. I don't want to make up some, fan hysteria and say some stuff that's not even possible. For Jello, I'm not going to say that, oh, Jello's going to earn the final roster spot and then get a bunch of minutes and average 20 a game. I'm not going to do that. It makes no sense. We got some people in the chat. Zozo Reginald says, Jello. Yeah, shout out to Jello G3, a.k.a. G Honcho, the middle child. In some ways, that's why I root for Liangelo Ball. I'm a middle child as well. I grew up as the middle child. When I was a little kid in the 90s, man, I didn't get the favoritism like my older brother and youngest brother. For some reason, when you're the middle child, you're not going to get the most notoriety, the most, popularity in the family. Is always the oldest and the youngest. So I understand Jello. I feel his pain sometimes. B Mill says, yo, shout out to B Mill. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button so I can chop it up with y'all more. Ever since I've been doing these live streams, I enjoy the conversations. I'm honored, I'm humble that you all would take so much of your valuable time just to listen to me, and that means a lot. Like I keep reiterating every show, when I made this channel, this is for you guys. This is not just for me, this is for everyone who likes sports, who wants to have a good time. This is the channel for you. And let's keep growing this thing out so we can have a space of real basketball discussion. You don't have to, depend on mainstream media. You can have it right here talking about the things you want to hear. But yeah, Jello, he has to take his opportunity and take it to the next level. Can Liangelo Ball take his game to a higher level than we all thought he could? That is the question. Don't forget, there was a time when LeVar, and this is when Lonzo Ball was drafted in 2017. And I remember this. Don't tell me I'm lying now, but I remember this. I remember LeVar Ball saying on TV, well, not everyone can make it in the NBA, saying his son Jello, and that's okay. Something changed. Maybe Liangelo Ball heard that interview and went up to his pops and said, hey, I can make the NBA. You just got to believe in me. And I think things changed from there. But yeah, LeVar went a 180 from when he made that statement in 2017 to now. I'm like, dang, Jello must have convinced LeVar that he could be like his brothers, he could make it. As for the projected started lineup, Sweatbox, it's too early to tell. They acquired too many forwards. Like, it, anybody in the chat, what do y'all think? Who do y'all think is going to be starting for the Pistons? Like, it's too early to say like, hey, this person's gonna start. This person's gonna start. I don't know who's gonna start. What if Rose doesn't start? What if he comes off the bench and they have Killian Hayes starting just to learn from D Rose? You'd never know, man. You never know with these things. Will Will Blake Griffin get traded? I heard he was in some trade rumors. I'll be interested to see how that team is. I think the Detroit Pistons will have a solid roster. Will they make the playoffs? The choice is on theirs. They got to play a lot better than they did last season. Yeah, keep them coming. Keep pushing the like button. Share with your friends. We're live. B-Mill says, I think they might start at the 2, but I don't know. You talking about D Rose or Killian? I don't know. There's a good chance that Killian may not. Like, if he didn't start because of a lack of training camp, just early, I wouldn't be surprised. Dwayne Casey, for some reason, he like playing veterans. B-Mail says, nah, they're not making the playoffs. Well, you never know. I mean, I wouldn't exclude them out. Killian Hayes will be wearing the jersey number 7. But man, the Detroit Pistons added some people, man. They added Josh Jackson. And Josh Jackson, I know he didn't live up to expectations with the Suns, but he had a solid year with the Grizzlies. So I'll say this. Sweatbox, if you still there, I'll say this. I believe the starting lineup will be Blake Griffin, Jamani Grant, man, be the center. That's the thing. Should maybe Isaiah Stewart, that rookie. Now, some people saying Jahlil Okafor, but man, you don't want Jahlil Okafor starting. He can't defend anything. So it's probably Isaiah Stewart starting at center. And the question is, are they going to start Seiko Deboye, the Frenchman, the young Frenchman that they drafted the other year? I like his game. Man, they got some talent. They got Sadiq Bey. I like his game as rookie. Rodney Magruder. It's really hard to tell. All right. Here's what I think, and I may be wrong. If D Rose still comes off the bench and becomes a 6 man like he's been doing, maybe it starts with Killian Hayes, Sweet Mikhailou, uh, Jamani Grant, Blake Griffin, and Isaiah Stewart. Or this. I'll say this. Okay, this what may happen. This is if D Rose still comes off the bench for the Pistons and becomes their 6 man like he's been doing. I'm gonna try again. The starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons could be Killian Hayes, Sweet Mikhailou, Jamani Grant, Blake Griffin, and not Miles Plumbing, Mason Plumbing. That's my starting 5 for the Detroit Pistons. Unless proven otherwise, that's my starting 5. Unless Killian Hayes was not ready to be a starter because of a lack of training count, that's where I'm going. We got Rap God in the building. He said, DJ, you saw the interview with Paul George on All Up in Smoke. He said, let me see. Okay, this is what you said. He expressed how Doc Rivers was using him on pin downs like he's Ray Allen and JJ Redick. Now, let me say this real quick because I don't want to harp on this. Paul George is a player who makes a lot of excuses. He never takes accountability. So I can't really take Paul George seriously. Paul George is someone who you don't want him being your number 1. And you wish he wasn't your number 2, to be honest. He doesn't have the mindset. He doesn't have the drive. He shrivels up in tough situations. I just don't see it from him. I don't see it from him. He's a talented player. He can get buckets, but he's not like Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is in go time mode. People were complaining about Kawhi Leonard's press conference, but I had no problem with it. Kawhi Leonard is Kawhi Leonard. He expects you to be a grown man, especially in the locker room. He expects you not to be snitching to reporters. He expects you to hold your own weight. They were asking Kawhi Leonard, uh, should he step up more in their personal lives and hang out? And man, these are grown men. Everybody's not like LeBron where you control everything. Some people they're just basketball, trying to win, and let it be that. So I have no problem with what Kawhi did in the press conference, and if Paul George had a little bit mentality like a Kawhi Leonard, uh, he'll be a better player. His mindset is stopping himself. PG's mindset is stopping himself from being a great player. But let me read these comments. Sweatbox says, maybe Killian will shock me, but it makes me sad to hear D Rose conceding the job to him before he's even touched the court. I don't think it's conceding, my brother. I think that D Rose is so happy with life. He's got a wife now, a kid. He probably just wanna stay with the Pistons. So if he shows the Pistons that he's a veteran and he's willing to do whatever job that's being asked, he could live with that. Um, I think there's a good chance D Rose may start. The only rookie that I've heard that's been ahead of the curve, I'm looking at reports now. The rookies that are ahead of the curve right now, LaMelo Ball first, and I'm not saying it because I'm a fan. I'm just going off what the coach and players are saying. When your coach tells the media that your rookie, LaMelo Ball, is top 4 in practices already, which is surprising to me, given that there's a lack of training camp, is saying something. It's truly saying something. And one thing that D Rose finally, well, not finally said, but told the media that's interesting. D Rose told the media that the Detroit Pistons finally got a professional roster. He said he wasn't trying to diss the previous roster, but he feels like they have a lot of pros. And they do. This is why uh, making a Pistons roster for Liangelo Ball, if he somehow makes it, this would be extraordinary. It's a tough roster to make at his position. I'm gonna tell you the guards and small forwards they got on this team. You know, Sekou Duboye. You know, Wayne Ellington, a veteran. You know he's gonna keep his job. Uh, Killian Hayes, who is the future. They drafted him for a reason. Josh Jackson, uh, Lewis King, Rodney Magruder, Sweet Mikhailu, excellent 3-point shooter, and he's 6'7", and he has a normal handle. D Rose, the veteran. Dion Wright. Now, these are just guards. I didn't get to the power forwards and centers that they got. So making this roster is not going to be easy for Liangelo Ball. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But if Jello can work hard, get a solid reputation in practices, being a good shooter, scrappy defender, maybe he makes that last roster spot. And if he did, it would be a two-way contract anyway. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure you share the content to your friends. Moises Ramirez says Jello will be in a G League roster, ball out, and be called up. That could happen. I'm trying to tell people it's not a bad thing if Jello is playing on the G League for the Detroit affiliate team. He hasn't played in two years. And I said from the beginning from my other videos that I assume that Jello will start the season playing in the G League. You can't just go in the NBA from 2 years being out. Now, unless you're John Wall is doing it now. But that's John Wall. That's different. Sweatbox says PG lied about his pin downs and PNR numbers. PG is a fraud and a stripper simp. Yes, he is. Kids, if you're listening, don't be like PG. Take accountability. Don't be a simp like PG either. Don't wife strippers and concubines. What Paul George is doing to his family is It's consequences. It's consequences. Here's why. When PG's daughter, son, whatever, gets older, she's going to be doing the same thing Larsa Pippen did. That's what Scottie did. Scottie found Larsa Pippen at a strip club in Chicago. He fell in love with a stripper, like T-Pain said. And look at it now. She tricking around, messing with young guys around her son's age. So much so embarrassing that Scottie Pippen Jr. had to speak up and distance from his own mother. Now, here on DJ's Raw Uncut Truth, we don't preach distancing from family, but there's a time and a place where you may have to do that. If your mother is a concubine and she's embarrassing your career, your name, because remember, Scottie Pippen Jr. plays for Vanderbilt in the SEC, and the SEC fans are vile. They'll make signs if there's fans in some of the games, by the way. And that's COVID-19 is saving, in some way, saving Scottie Pippen Jr. from being ridiculed. Unfortunately, I don't want any young player to get made fun of like that, but it is what it is. It's the reality of sports. This is something he has to deal with because his mother is a concubine. She's a trick. And Paul George doing the same thing that Scottie did in the late 90s is going to catch up with him. I get it. We're men. We love a woman with a nice look, a nice figure, a nice body. But it's not worth it. Trust me, get you a good woman. Get you a woman that got a good job, that doesn't need nobody, that wants a loving man. That's what you got to get. You know, stop settling for these strippers, these women that go on Baller Alert. They find you at the club and they act like they don't know who you are. That is a game they run. They know exactly who you are. They search all your information up. They know about your mama, your baby mamas, your father, your history. They know it all. So you got to be careful out there. Protect your seed, my brothers. Like the Most High always say, protect your seed and give it to the one that's deserved. But back to Liangelo Ball. Earlier in this video, I listed a lot of names on this roster of the Detroit Pistons. It's not going to be easy for Jello. And I know a lot of YouTubers, they root for Jello at a hardcore level. They did. But reality is something. When you face reality, you can see the truth. And the reality for me, for what I think Jello will end up in this year, is in the G League on a two-way contract. That's nothing against Jello. That's just what I believe. And I don't think that's a loss for Jello. Because if you're in a two-way contract, all you have to do is put up numbers in the G League. You'll get called up. I tell you right now, if Jello's in the G League and he's averaging 40+% from three, and he's making good choices, he's diving for loose basketballs, he's playing tough defense, he'll get caught up. When you're a player who is a shooter and you don't have a top-notch handle, you got to shoot in the 40s and threes. You got to shoot past 45% field goals. You got to make 80 plus to 90% free throws. This is what you got to do if you're a sharpshooter. Boy, y'all saying something else in these comment sections. B Mill says PG took a L, major L. Yes, he did. PG's probably the simp of the year, but Scottie Pippen is definitely up there. Scottie Pippen is probably the Hall of Fame simp of the year, the original simp of the NBA for the stunt he pulled getting with Larson Pippen. Rap God says, can Wall and Harden be a good fit in Houston? How the Rockets will be? I don't know how good the Rockets will be. I don't know, man. James Harden tends to let me down time to time, so it's too unpredictable with them. We just got to see how they play out. You got to have chemistry to have a winning season in the West. Rap guy says Larsa had plastic surgery. It's not her real body. PG took a L committing adultery on Doc's River's daughter. Man, you wild, man. Rap God says off subject, Cade is the best player in next year's draft. Extremely athletic, gifted, has good all around skills. Here's what I like about Cade Cunningham. He's able to control the pace. He doesn't turn over the ball that much. He's very, like you said, athletic. He's a good passer because he's a physical driver to the basket. Uh, he doesn't have too many weaknesses. He can shoot the three. I saw Cade Cunningham do what you call one of them fadeaway mid-range shots, and the team couldn't stop it. He's 6'8". He's a legit 6'8", and he looks like he's still growing. This is a player you don't pass on. And I know there's going to be other talented players like Evan Mobley, Jalen Green. Jalen Green, I cannot wait to see him play in the G League. Uh, this is going to be a loaded class. It takes nothing against the 2020 class, but 2021 is definitely going to be the shit. But yeah, Liangelo Ball, he just got to stay focused, stay grounded, um, realize that he hasn't made it yet. And if he does those things, maybe he gets a two-way contract, works out in the G League, put up some solid numbers. Here's the thing for what Jello got to do in practices, and no one talks about this. He cannot force shots in practice, in training camp. He can't afford to do that. I'm going to tell you why. In the NBA, if you're not drafted very high, if you're not drafted as a top 10 player, you do not have any say so at all. You don't have any say so. Meaning the shots that he would shoot for the JBA, LKL, and many other leagues, high school, the NBA is not going to let him do that. So what he has to do is run the sets, and if you're open, make it. But don't try to be Superman trying to shoot over two defenders. The coach is going to look at him like, even if he made the shot, this is what he's going to be. He's going to be like, yeah, you made the shot. But I told you to run this set. You get what I mean? This is how coaches are in the NBA. You got to know the game of the NBA to survive in the NBA. Let me repeat that. You got to know the game of the NBA to survive in the NBA. It's a man's game. And yes, it has politics. But you got to know the politics to keep that roster spot. Also, on defense, if you're a journeyman player or just getting called up to the NBA, you got to play defense more than a star player of the team. That's just how the game goes. The star players of each team in the NBA, let's be honest, not many of them are solid defenders. They're okay defenders at times, but they're not top-notch defenders. Your role players got to be the best defenders sometimes. They got to be gritty, man. They got to out-rebound their opponents. he got to be a junkyard dog. I see a lot of people say Jello got to be PJ Tucker. He may just have to be. He's a big guy. Jello's literally built like a tight end. He's built like a brick house. So would it surprise me that Jello comes into this training camp like a dog and starts taking hits? It wouldn't surprise me. I got a comment. Jonathan Ohen. He says even Pennywise TV didn't know enough game to even make the D League. LOL. I know who you talking about, Pennywise TV. Okay. Yeah, a lot of those shines who made fun of Jello, they couldn't even make the G League. They were cut as soon as they were drafted in the G League draft. Um, that's something that Jello doesn't understand because he's never been cut in the G League. So it's weird for them to talk about Jello, which they never know how the league works. They never been to the league. They're overseas because they can't even get to the NBA. So I think it's funny when they do these little sneak disses on the Ball family or anybody else, and they don't know what it's like to be in the NBA. That's like me saying I'm better than Liangelo Ball, even though I've never been to the G League or the NBA or anything else. That sounds ludicrous. Rap God says 2020 is a bad year for G League rejects who wants Zoe to play on the bench aside Bledsoe. Oh, I saw that, man. I saw that. I'm not trying to pay no mind to it, but here's the thing, and I can say his name now. Ticket TV was trying to. If you look at his live streams were down. You see, my live streams is not as high as his because what he got like 70,000 subs, and he's been doing this for a decade. We get that, but he was just trying to gain some of the Lonzo Ball haters' attraction by saying, "Oh, he's not going to start," so he could get some views. You realize Ticket TV gets his most views when he's dissing LeBron and dissing the Ball family, mainly Lonzo Ball. Now, I give Ticket credit on one thing. He actually likes LaMelo Ball. So he doesn't even make any much like that much diss videos towards him because we all know LaMelo has that dog in him. And that's the wrong thing to do is to say LaMelo wouldn't make it. You'd be an idiot to say it. VD Press says it's not easy to make it to the G League. No, it's not easy. But I was also pointing out, like, you can't talk about a player um, being a G League level player like Jello, and you haven't made it to the G League, not made it to the NBA either. It's definitely not easy to make it to the G League. I don't know why people talk about, oh, he's only going to make it to the G League like it's a bad thing. It's not easy. Let me see. Moses Ramirez says we got to watch out for 2021 because every time Jello is about to get a shot, something happens. UCLA, then OKC blew with Corona. Man, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Man, we gotta watch out, see what happens, man. It's something that always happens with Jello. It's weird. I was so excited to see him play for the OKC Blue, and then the league gets canceled. They canceled that game like before he could even play for the OKC Blue. They canceled it. I'm like, man, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, nothing weird happens again. Rap guy says Zoe lives rent free in his head. Yeah, I mean that's how he gets his views. You know, you get your views for doing something when you distance Zoe. Of course, I get views if I talk about news of the Ball family, but that's just my nit. That's just news. That's not talking negative or positive. It's just news. When I talk about Jello change his number, that's news. When I talk about LaMelo is, you know, impressing his coach and his team, that's news. You know, this shine, he goes out of his way. Oh, he won't make it. He won't start. Uh, he's not listening to Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy, if you listen to his press conference, Lonzo is starting next to Bledsoe. That's what's going to happen. That's what the team knows about it. And besides, Lonzo is their best defender. Stan Van Gundy wants to play defense. So you got to keep Lonzo in there. That doesn't make any sense. You're going to leave your best defender on the bench in the West? And don't forget, Lonzo has improved since he actually had an off season training with Clutch Sports. So we'll see what happens. Fahara Television, shout out to Fahara. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. He got two channels, that and VD Press. He said he got a chance now. When he's talking about he means Jello. Yeah, Jello has a chance. It's all up to Jello, man. It's all about if you want it. You know, he's got to take that opportunity head on. We got 30 plus in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share this video to your friends, family, or people you know. Rap Guy says Jello is the unluckiest ball brother. He's an unlucky player, in my opinion. Yeah, I kind of see your point. UCLA China situation. LKL Liangelo had a foot injury. I think his third to last game is ankle injury. And that didn't help him on workouts. Also, the G League game canceling at the last minute. I'm like, shoot, something always comes up. So let's pray that there's no distractions, no weird stuff happening. And I just want to see Liangelo play in something. I don't care if it's G League or not. I just want to see him play a game. True the King in the house. He said, "What up, DJ? Man, y'all subscribe to True the King, man. He's a real one. You know, he be on FYS Sports Debates channel holding his own. Respect to you, brother. And thank you for tuning in. We're talking about Liangelo Ball. Liangelo Ball has to take this opportunity, and this is what he wanted. He wanted an opportunity to show that he's league ready. It's all on him. If Liangelo, let's say he doesn't make that final roster, at least he tried, and at least he proved somewhat the naysayers, the haters wrong. They never thought he would get to this point. The same people who were talking ish about Liangelo Ball were praising Liangelo Ball. Ticket TV was praising Liangelo when the news came out about that 10-year non-guaranteed deal. He was praising them. And it's funny to me because these shines switch up so much because they want to be right. They don't care about reporting what's real and what's not. They want to be right, and they want to be. They don't want to be wrong. And what I want to bring to YouTube is, I want to show people it's okay to be wrong if you're learning. I tell people all the time. I do these streams daily now, and I tell you guys, I don't mind being wrong because I'm learning. We're all learning. We're all human. But the bad thing about the human mind is arrogance. Arrogance can cloud our judgment. It can misjudge situations. You got people talking about Lonzo won't start. after his teammates of the Pelicans and coaches have raved how improved Lonzo has been, how Lonzo is attacking the basket more, using floaters, being more aggressive. This is what they're saying. But this fool went on live stream saying he won't start. It makes no sense. Now, we can understand if Lonzo was stinking it up in his practices and he didn't get to do an off season this year, but that's not the case. Rap Guy says Jello's ex-girlfriend used him for clout, who's now with Michael Porter Jr. You talking about Izzy, right? Yeah, I know you're talking about Izzy. I know it's not the sister. The sister that plays with Baylor is a good woman. You know, you don't hear nothing crazy with her. So I know what you're talking about. You're talking about that white chick. True the King said, he said Lonzo not going to start, laughing my ass off. Yep. Like, who says that, man? I know some haters of the Ball family, as well as Lonzo haters. They would never even say this. When you have a certain skill, like defense and passing, you're going to start. Like, how you going to, it makes no sense. How you going to bench a top 10 defender in the NBA? A top 5 passer in the NBA? We know he needs a score, but he's working on that. How you going to do that? And Zion, here's the thing, Zion loves playing with Lonzo because he's one of the few teammates who gets him involved. Every time Lonzo is not playing with Zion, Zion gets less touches. And when you're trying to build your team around that young stud Zion Williamson, you better give him the damn ball. If you're not giving him the damn ball, you better give it to Ingram. True the King says Lonzo and Bledsoe going to be in the backcourt. Yep. Coach Van Gundy already reiterated that too. That's the funny part that these shines keep going on. You realize that, right? They keep going on live stream to get their numbers up, just saying anything. And the coach already reiterated, coach and teammates reiterated that Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo are starting. They've said on interviews that they're dependent on those two to control the pace, to play stymie defense, and to play make for others. This is what they've said on interviews. But buffoons are going online making up stuff. You don't know what's real anymore. Joaquin, shout out to Joaquin Lipe in the house. He says, I think Jello is a better passer than most people think. He's never showed that he could pass like his brothers, but he's got a good feel for the game. That's probably true. We got to see it first. We got to see it. But that's probably true. He's been around, he's been around that Chino Hill system, throwing lobs and stuff. So I think Jello could be a better passer than we all give him credit for. Now, for Killian Hayes, and the reason why I'm bringing up Killian Hayes is because we're talking about Jello and the Pistons. I think Killian Hayes has a 50-50 chance to start. I'm trying to limit expectations of certain rookies. Usually rookies have 3 months to get ready for the NBA. Now they got a short time. And I can see Killian not starting for the first month. And then when the next month gets rolling and there's comfortability, he could start. I could also see him starting, and D Rose will continue being the sixth man that he was last season. It's all up to how he practiced. But what I've heard, the rookies that have stand out, I've said this earlier in this video. LaMelo Ball, reports of him balling out in practice. James Wiseman and Okoro. It would be Big O in that list, but Big O is dealing with a foot issue. He'll be all right, but he's a week or two out. Those are the few rookies I've heard that has been balling out already. That they'll be ready for the season. And shout out to Mike Fox, LaMelo's trainer. Mike Fox was on DKM's channel. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That interview he did with DKM. He said his main objective was to have LaMelo Ball ready for the season. Game shape. He wasn't trying to put in unneeded heavy weights because everybody's looking at LaMelo's weight and talking about why he's not bulky. He's the third youngest player in the NBA. And what you do not want to do is put forced weight on your players. What you got to do is make lean strength, which they have done with LaMelo Ball, as well as making sure his joints are flexible and ready to go to play 70-plus game season. But this is how fair they are with LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is not even the number one overall pick. And he gets overly critiqued like he's like anybody else, like a star in this league. I haven't been hearing any critiquing from James Wiseman or Anthony Edwards. It's been LaMelo this and that. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you an example. There was a highlight the Hornets did last night, right? The first defensive highlight. LaMelo actually played solid defense and helped a big man get a block by trailing the offensive player, right? Then at the end of the video, there's a video of there's a practice section, right, of Cody Zeller getting the leak out, right, and LaMelo was late to it. I saw people in the comments saying, "Oh, he's not a good defender," and that's off of one bad defensive play. But they didn't bring up the first good defensive play he had. Let's keep it real. A lot of NBA players don't play defense. Look at Trae Young. If Trae Young plays defense normally, normal defense, the Hawks are a fourth, fifth seed. Look at Luka Doncic, who I respect. He doesn't play defense. What you want LaMelo to be, you want him to have a good defensive stance and be just normal enough. Get steals, get deflections, use his wingspan. That's all I want to see from LaMelo. Of course, I would love LaMelo to be a great defender like his brother Lonzo, but it takes time, man. I remember at UCLA, Lonzo was not a good defender. Since Lonzo came to the league bad on offense, it took time for Lonzo to get that pan down. True the King says Jello's a decent passer. I take your word. One thing I respect about you, True the King, you and the Lamont and others are, you guys understand the game of basketball, and I've been listening to y'all's live streams. You guys understand the game of basketball, and you're not judging off, media sites. See what these YouTubers do, my brother, and you know what I'm talking about, True the King. They go on Clutch Sports and get all the information from them, and they act like they know all about basketball. They don't break down film. They don't do anything. Everything they say is hearsay. But one thing I respect about you, True the King, and FY Sports debates is y'all know the game of basketball. When I did that debate with Ticket TV, in the comment section, I told people, like when people were telling me, man, you're an excellent debater, you kept your composure, I don't think you ever could lose a debate. And I told them, I could lose a debate, but only to people who use logic over emotion that know the facts of the game. See, if I debate someone who knows the game of basketball and they got all their analytics, I could lose that debate. So I'm only good at debating against. I'll be honest. I'm good at debating against emotional people because I could put in the points and they'll lose their mind because they don't have any facts to back up their claims. Rap guy says Killian reminds me of D'Lo mixed with Harden and Ginobili. Um, Killian's playing style. I'm not gonna say like he's gonna be the next James Harden. Uh, he's a lefty. The only problem with Killian, sometimes he's too left hand dominant, and he's got to keep teams honest. I'll tell you one thing: if Killian Hayes wasn't left hand dominant, he probably would have been a top four pick. I guarantee it. Here's what teams in the NBA do: when they know you're right hand dominant, left hand dominant, they're gonna they're gonna sit on that weak side and dare you to attack them that way. That's the only thing Killian has to work on. Defense, he could be better, but I think that'll be easily picked up with Dwayne Casey. Dwayne Casey gonna fix that. But True the King on fire. True the King said clutch points is like the Bible to some people. Yeah, it is, brother. Like, you ever go to, I'm not trying to say his name, you ever go to some of these YouTubers' live streams and they got the clutch points, talking points already, and you already know, like, man, they get this shit for clutch sport. They can't even make up their own talking points. It's like their Quran, their Taj Mahal. Whatever clutch points say, I'ma say it. Let me stop, man. I'm we getting we getting too wild today. I love it. Let me see. Jonathan says that's what Ticket TV do. He just be reporting what comes out of clutch points. Yeah, that's all it is, man. That's all it is. Copycatting. Um, for anybody that want to do this YouTube game, and I do this for a hobby. You gotta have your own style, man. You can't be like copying people, man. What's the fun? What's the fun of having YouTube if you're copying everybody and their mama? It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's pretty lame and uninterested. Rap guy says, remember back in 2017, he got mad at Zoe for picking LeBron over Kobe. He got a vendetta for him since day one. I remember that. Uh, why would if you're born in the late 90s or early 2000s, all you've seen is LeBron at his heyday as an older person, right? So you don't expect them to pick Kobe like I would pick Kobe. I'm a Kobe fan, but I understand why some of these young cats are fans of LeBron. They didn't grow up when I grew up. So it's nothing personal. When he got mad at Lonzo for saying that, I knew then. I said, "Oh boy, this boy gonna be this dude Ticket TV gonna be talking about him not like 90 going north." I knew it then. Eon Taylor said, "What's Jello's new number? 34. 34. Life with Big says, I'm born in 94 and I'm a Kobe fan. That's why I said late 90s. You're mid 90s. So mid 90s are tweeners. You guys are like, you've seen enough of Kobe because when Kobe won his two championships, you've been born in 94. You saw him win his championships not only when he was young Kobe, but veteran Kobe, when they won it against the Orlando Magic and then with the Celtics with the second time. So yeah, you're in the mid '90s discussion. I'm talking about late '90s, early 2000s. You know what's so sad, man? You could be a Kobe fan and not diss other players. See, people were surprised me being a Kobe fan that I gave LeBron props for actually showing up to the bubble and being an adult. That's what it takes, man. It takes objectivity. You're not objective if you're hating on LeBron for doing his job. Of course, I never rooted for LeBron like like that. It was nothing personal. It's just like, you know, I have my certain favorite type of players. But what I'm not gonna do is discredit LeBron for being a champion. Discredit him for being a leader for his team. Charles Knight says, "Did Anthony Lamb get cut? He's still on the roster for the Pistons. Now, if he stinks it up and training camp are not good enough, then he will be cut. That's why I said this Detroit Pistons roster is not easy to make. You know, they haven't been to the playoffs in what, 2 years or so, 3 years? But you see the talent on their roster. Rob Goss says, I'm born in December 1990, and Kobe's my favorite athlete as well as Shaq. See, time difference makes everything. Shout out to the early 90s game. Man, we saw some good basketball growing up. Man, I used to love watching, because I grew up in Houston. So I used to love watching Kobe versus Tracy McGrady before Tracy had those back problems. People forget Tracy McGrady used to be that dude, man. He was a leading scorer for the Magic at one point. Charles Knight says his salary was crossed out on the official website. Yeah, that's because when you don't live up to your expectations, sometimes you got to settle for that non-guaranteed. It happens a lot in the NBA. Rap God says my birthday is December 22nd. I'll be 30 in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, you born in 99, not 90. Yeah, you born in 1990. I see. But yeah, man, I can't wait for the NBA season. Um, the Hornets versus the Cavs will be interesting. Um, I'm a big fan of Isaac Okoro. I've said it from the beginning. Isaac Okoro is the best defender in this draft. He got a little Jimmy Butler in his game. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Jimmy Butler, but if he turns out to be somewhat of a player like a Jimmy Butler, I would not be surprised at all. Definitely wouldn't be surprised. Um, the Cavaliers have some good defensive guards, so it's going to be interesting how LaMelo plays in that first game. He will have pressure hit in his face, but I want to see how he responds. Luckily, LaMelo Ball has that dog in him, so I'm not really worried about him being aggressive. He's going to be aggressive. Um, Here's the one thing the Cavs, and I know I'm talking about other games in the NBA season, but I want to point this out. Here's the thing that the Cavs better not do when they play against the Hornets. They better not make their game plan around LaMelo because he's going to make them pay. He's going to have Gordon Hayward open, Devontae Graham open, and then he's going to have PJ Washington open. So they want teams to focus on LaMelo. If you do that, he's going to make you pay. That's all I'm saying. As for Liangelo Ball, you got to keep his head up, stay focused, and have some belief in himself. And I know he probably does. But yeah, hope he's ready. Rap God says Sexton has potential. He's no pushover. January 8th is the main event to see the Battle of the Ball Brothers. Must see TV. Oh, I cannot wait to see that. I cannot wait to see Lonzo versus LaMelo. Now, I'm letting you know, LaMelo will go out swinging. The only thing is, Lonzo knows his brother's whole game. That will be LaMelo's hardest game is against Lonzo. Um, People forget Lonzo is a top 10 defender. I've been saying it on the show. I've been saying it on other streams. I've had videos putting out the stats that backs up my claim. The only reason why Lonzo didn't get any defense awards, he gets hated on in the NBA. That is a fact. That's not made up. And plus, the Pelicans defenders last year was so bad that Lonzo played too many help defensive plays. Zone. When he was with the Lakers, he could just play man to man, which is his strength. Since the Pelicans had so many players that were ball hogs and didn't want to defend, he had to help out Jahlil Okafor, Etuan Moore, so many players that couldn't defend a grapefruit. Now he has a good defender in Eric Bledsoe. Zion has lost weight, so hopefully he plays some defense. So we'll see what happens on that. Trudy King says, I can't wait to see what Peyton Pritchard and Aaron Neesmith do for the Celtics. Oh, bro, Trudy King, man, I'm glad you said that. Peyton Pritchard, man, he could be one of those, senior players that just have a good year out of nowhere. Peyton Pritchard could have that type of year. I cannot wait to see that. And Aaron Neesmith is a sharpshooter. He will get minutes for the Celtics. I'm saying that right now. He's going to get minutes for the Celtics because there's not a shot that he can't make. Y'all be on the lookout for those two. Rap Guy says Zoe was playing like a free safety, like Deion Sanders. Yeah, man. If y'all watched the Pelicans last year, y'all know what I'm talking about. It frustrated me because I'm like, man, I wanted Zoe to just play man to man and do his strength, but his teammates couldn't defend shit. It was travesty. And then Zion, he's a great offensive player. Don't get me wrong. But he was so overweight that he couldn't switch on defense like he did when he was at Duke. So you got Lonzo helping the guard position, Lonzo helping the only people that played defense was Lonzo and Drew. Tell me if I'm wrong. For the Pelicans, the only players that played defense was Lonzo and Drew. What I'm saying is not wrong. And as for Brandon Ingram, well, I give Brandon Ingram credit. He was the leading scorer of the team. He wasn't a bad defender. He was just okay. But if the whole team was at least okay, you wouldn't see Lonzo having to play so much help defense. So next year, I want every player on the Pelicans to hold their own weight and to defend their man. And that's what Stan Van Gundy wants to do. And he's going to drill that in practice. He's not going to be doing all that help man defense bullshit. You got to hold your own. So Zion, you got to hold your own. You know Steven Adams going to hold his own. B.I. got to hold his own, and I think B.I. will. The problem with the Pelicans defense, when your power forward and center are not playing good defense, your small forward he got to help out too. And that's B.I. B.I. had to help out. Zoe had to help out. Drew had to help out. And it messed up the whole Pelican defense. So I don't want to see none of that shit next year. All that, Zoe, help me out. No, I don't want to see that. You got to hold your own weight now. Rap God says Zoe and Drew were the only perimeter defenders from last year. Facts. And it wasn't even close. Shoot, you know what's bad when Drew Holiday, which is he's a fantastic defender, well respected in the NBA, didn't get first team. The reason why Drew Holiday didn't get first team because he had to help so much on defense. It messed up his defensive numbers. That is a fact. Nobody can dispute that. Drew Holiday, when you see his style of play and his defensive ability, you would say first team all defense. Couldn't even get it because certain players on the Pelicans wanted to care about taking all the shots instead of buckling down, having basketball IQ, and playing sound and fundamental defense. Rob God says Gentry was doing all that to help defensive build of like Puff Daddy all up in the cameras taking all that. Yeah. You're a fool, Rap God. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to see that Alvin Gentry help defense. And one thing I didn't like about Gentry, he played the most players in the NBA. Like in a full roster, there would be games where Alvin Gentry would play 13 players and they'll be playing a contending team. He would be playing everybody in a mama. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. The starters gotta have 30 plus minutes if you're not winning. If you're not a contending team, your starters better be playing 30 plus minutes. True to King, right? He said he didn't make no defensive team. Yeah, that's even bad. Drew Hall did not make not one defensive team. His defensive numbers got screwed up because the only teammate that wanted to defend was Lonzo. And then Drew had to help out. Lonzo had to help out, causing their man to be open. It was a mess. I'm banking on this. You will not see that much help defense uh, from the Pelicans this year. I'm banking on it. Stan Van Gundy's not putting up with that shit. He's gonna. You heard what JJ Redick said on this interview. He stated that since Stan Van Gundy took over, it's been the hardest training camp conditioning wise and defense. So that tells you something. They're going straight up man to man. True the King said Pat Bev made it over him. Yeah, that's some bullshit. You know, Pat Bev is not a better defender than Drew Holiday. I'm sorry, he's not. Pat Bev is a shadow defender. He talks, he's aggressive, but he throws his body around, and he's not really a Drew Holiday elite defender. Pat Bev is kind of overrated at times because when he plays against Steph Curry and all these real point guards, he gets embarrassed. Damian Lillard, he gets embarrassed. I remember a game, Damian Lillard had 40 plus on uh, Pat Bev. And Pat Bev kept trying to chirp, talk after getting scored 40 plus on. That tells you what type of defender he is. He's all talk. Yeah, keep the likes going. Keep the likes going. Rap God says, nah, fam. Did you say shadow defense? Yeah. I'm being real with y'all. Pat Bev is a shadow defender. Like he here's the thing about Pat Bev. Since he knows he has great defenders in Kawhi Leonard and PG, even though we clown on PG, PG is a very talented defender. He gets away with his fake defense he's doing. And Russell Westbrook talked about this. Russell Westbrook said, like, hey, man, you call that defense? He said, that's not defense. That's just talking. That's why I'll say this. I go out on a limb and say this. This is why Pat Bev be getting those little nicks and knack type of injuries. Because he's flailing his body all around, going into contact and not really doing anything, causing him to get injured. And for the Clippers, I got to say this for the Clippers. The Clippers need a real point guard. They don't need a Patrick Beverly starting. Because you can never win a championship without a solid point guard that's willing to create for others. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Uh, Thank you to everybody in the chat. Make sure you subscribe for those who haven't. Share this content. Shout out to Liangelo Ball. Hope he proves a lot of people wrong. I'm gonna do some more lives. Just gotta find something to talk about. But thank you all for supporting this channel. All love from here. All praise to the Most High. Peace.